Look, I think that we'll kick off anyway, and then if anybody chooses to join us then across the hour, you know, they can. So just to introduce myself and my team that I have here today, my name is Linda Young, and I am the Senior Manager for Undergraduate Student Recruitment here at Technological University. I'm joined by Nolene Grace. Nolene is our Admissions Manager here, and also Fiona Canning. Fiona is our School Liaison and QQI Officer and Manager here at the university. And I have some of my team in the background then just assisting with questions. So thanks to David and Megan for their assistance as well on this webinar. Okay, so just to give you an overview then of our agenda today, I've just given you brief introductions of some of the team that are here. I'm going to be talking a little bit about considering study options. I'm also then going to talk about filling out the CAO form and how to maximise that. I'm going to talk about after the Leaving Cert and what happens after the Leaving Cert. Maybe a little bit about some of the university access schemes as well. I have a little toolbox for parents there, just some useful links that you can go in and have a look at and have a read about. So I've just kind of cobbled them all together in one area, and it just might be helpful for yourselves just in terms of you know, if you want to find out further information on different things. And then we are going to run a questions and answers session. Now, obviously, feel free to type your questions in the chat across the event. We will pick them up. As I said, I have a couple of staff here with me giving me a hand today. But we might also talk about some of those questions for some of the other parents who might be on here this afternoon. Okay, so considering your options. So as a recruitment manager, I've been working in the university for almost 20 years now. So I've a lot of experience, as have my peers here, with students coming into university and also, you know, applying through admissions, their CAO forms and how that all works. And often we find that what sometimes happens to students is they're very, very focused on their Leaving Cert, as they should be in their final year. But sometimes they're studying so hard for their Leaving Certificate that they don't sometimes get to do as much investigating of what's available to them, and then sometimes don't put as much work into their CAO form or as much strategy into their CAO form, I would say, you know, that would be of assistance to them. Indeed, like, we run surveys across all of our events, and we're finding less and less that students coming into university are actually taking the time out to come to open days, to visit campuses, to, you know, to even find out about different programs that are on the CAO. And subsequently, they're kind of tightening their options rather than expanding them. And so now's the time. There's still plenty of time. I know that a lot of the on-site events are over, but there's still plenty of time to do that research. And one thing that I would say to you, and I know ourselves in TU Dublin and other universities, we're always open to questions. We have a little chat functionality on our website. Our lecturers are open to answering questions about their programs, anything that the students want to find out about, whether it's, you know, a little bit about careers, how we work on careers, etc. But there's still loads of time, and I know the students are working really hard on their Leaving Cert at the moment, putting lots of time into their study. But even an hour or two will make a huge difference to them in terms of their form. So I just wanted to mention to you that up front, because sometimes we see students who have not strategized on their form at all, and what tends to happen then is they may get no offer whatsoever. And these are excellent students. These are students who are really bright, who have worked hard, and something just didn't go right for them on the day, perhaps, and they haven't got what they have necessarily looked for, which sometimes is only one or two additions to their form. And there's so many options out there. There's over 1,800 CAO programs out there. Indeed, in TU Dublin, we've 140 on offer. So there's loads on offer there. So just to identify, I will be talking about the CAO and the strategy, but just to let you know, TU Dublin is a very, very large university. We take in just under 6,000 first years every year. So we really know undergraduate in TU Dublin. We take in about 1,000 more undergraduate students than the next biggest university in the country. So undergrad is really where it's at. We've a lot of experience with undergraduate students coming in. So I'm going to talk a little bit about strategy and how we look after the students then. So considering your study options. So as I've mentioned to you, sometimes the students are not exposing themselves to what's on offer. They're looking at a big long list of titles. They really don't understand what some of the programs are at all, and they haven't perhaps put enough research in, you know, going to open days or going to careers fairs, or, you know, even chatting to their guidance counsellors to find out what is on offer, and kind of thinking a little bit outside the box. Well, I do like this, you know, maybe that could be for me, maybe that could be for me, etc. One thing that a lot of the universities, including ourselves, do is put a lot of time into updating our web pages and to explaining programs, making videos, etc., talking about what a program is and trying to identify the career opportunities. Like, students will look at a career and they'll say, I want to be that, not understanding that there's loads of ways to get to an end point. And I suppose that's probably one of the things that we do well in TU Dublin, is that we offer loads of ways to get to an end point. So for students, if they're thinking, say, for example, that they want to be a teacher, you know, they don't necessarily need to go straight into primary school teaching. They can do something like early childhood care and education and then do a teaching master's afterwards. There's lots of ways to get to where you want to go. And I suppose if your student has their heart set on something, it's about investigating all those routes, so that when it comes to CAO offer day, if they're not taking the direct path, at least they have a path and they have something that they want to do and that they feel that, you know, will get them where they want to go. You know, because again, as I say, there's lots of different opportunities and lots of options to get to where you want to go. One of the options, like one of the things that's also very true, and I know some of you may be in this position as well, is that students often don't know what they want to do. They may feel that they like a particular subject in school. I'd say that probably more than half students haven't got an idea what they want to do, and you know, that's absolutely fine. They do want to come to university, that, you know, they want to study, but they're not 100% sure. Common entry options are fantastic for students in this position. Okay, now just let me explain to you what a common entry option is. The common entry option is where you come into a particular discipline area and you study quite generally for the first year and then pick a specialism after that. So I'm going to take the example of engineering at TU Dublin. If you come into our level 8 engineering program in Bolton Street, for example, you're coming in and you're doing the general entry engineering program in the first year. So you're getting a taster of a lot of the different engineering opportunities in TU Dublin and a lot of the opportunities, you know, to progress into different streams. At the end of first year, you're going to choose from one of 7 pathways, you know, to get your degree from, okay? And what that allows is, it allows students to come in and kind of put off deciding what they really want. The same applies in science. We have, you come in, you do your general entry year, and then you can choose from one of 10 sciences. And that kind of goes back to the point I was speaking about earlier, where students are not exposed to certain things and they don't know what they are. Coming in on a general entry program, a student might know what, you know, biological sciences is, but they might know what food science entails, for example, or culinary science, or, you know, some of those science programs with really long names on them that they really just don't understand. Coming in on a general entry pathway means that they can defer that deciding for a year. It allows them to speak to their lecturers, you know, kind of gauge what their lecturers think in terms of a route that they can go. And it also allows them to engage with their career service here in the university. So, you know, and in most universities will have this option as well. They can go to their career service, book in an hour with them, and they're moving from their guidance counsellor in secondary school into a more strategic, more streamlined careers option. You can imagine the guidance counsellors at secondary school level are providing a valuable pathway for students, giving them advice. but it gets more tailored as it comes into university. So you'll have career guidance people who only specialize in science, who know all the career backgrounds of all of the opportunities the individual university are offering, and they can advise them. Do you like this? Can you see yourself in a lab all day? Would you like to be in a lab and out on the road, etc.? Loads of different options. So common entry options are really good for students who are not fully decided, but for example, know that they like something in secondary school. You know, business is another thing that we offer here at the university. Common entry, students are coming in and choosing then after they've had a little taster of the different business options that they can do, and then they can progress along like that. So that's very suitable for a lot of students, and a lot of students really like that because they have the opportunity to put off deciding, let's just say. The QQI pathway then is another pathway option for students. And I suppose this comes in terms of strategy as well. A lot of students will want to do something quite specific. If they want something that has very high points, for example, they'll be working towards those high points. But the students can also go and do a QQI and look to progress into the university the next year into a program with quite high points, having followed a specific QQI pathway. So, for example, we make about 1,250 offers is what we made last year to QQI students. We bring in the biggest volume of QQI students in the country, and because of that, we're so big. And lots of those students have gone and took that QQI pathway, not alone to get into the course that they want, but also sometimes students want to prepare themselves maybe a little bit more for college. They're not 100% set on coming in, and they're deciding, you know, let me go do my QQI for the year, find out if that's what I really want to do, and then I can progress into university. You know, students, sometimes they're in a hurry to do things, but they have loads of time. You know, sometimes if they're a little bit undecided, a QQI pathway and then progression to university might suit them that little bit better as well. And, you know, I would say to you that all of the QQIs are open now, and you can start to make applications into them early. You know, if it's the case that you're not going to take up the place, that's absolutely fine. But it's good to be thinking about the different pathways that are available to a student, so that when it comes to Leaving Cert results time, whether that's, you know, the student is happy or whether they're a little bit disappointed, that they have an option and that they have a clear pathway around what they're going to do. So some of the questions students, you know, you might like to ask your student is, what suits you? Is applied learning a better option for you? Okay, so when some students are really academic, they love sitting down, you know, they're great at the books and all that kind of stuff. And then some students learn with their hands, they learn through doing, through making, and through seeing. So everybody learns differently. And some students are really good at sitting exams and doing really well in them, whereas some students are just so much better at learning something that's applied. And that's very valuable when it comes to learning to understand what way you learn. Okay, so if you have a student, for example, who's really good with their hands, applied learning is phenomenal, and that's a huge part of what we do at TU Dublin. Okay, a lot of it is very hands-on for the student. For example, if you're doing something like engineering, you're going to be in a workshop making robots, making them work, you know. And for students, doing that really helps them in the academic part of things, in terms of, you know, getting to grips with how things work. So is applied learning for them? Is that a better option for them? And TU Dublin is more applied, and that's what a technological university is. It is more applied than, say, a standard university. There's lots of academia, let me tell you as well, but is applied learning a better option for your students? So that's something to think about when it comes to choosing a program. Will I be in the lab? Will I be in the workshop? Will I be in the kitchen? What way is that going to work? Does your student thrive in an environment where they have access to people to talk about things and to ask them things? Okay, so for example, TU Dublin work in very small class groups. So for example, the biggest class group would be about 45 there or thereabouts, but most of the class groups are smaller than that. And that just allows them a lot of one-on-one attention with the academic staff. And coming from school, students can struggle slightly moving from a small class where they know everybody to move into a big, huge group where they don't know everybody. So how does your student work? How do they like, you know, do they feel comfortable in small groups? Do they like to be able to talk with their teacher? Do they like to be able to access supports, etc.? You know, so that's something to think about as well. One of the things that we understand as recruiters in the university is that the peer group and the feeling of, you know, actually being part of something really makes a difference to young students. So, you know, your student should think about that as well. Do they, you know, do they like that small group, and do they value the opportunity to make friends in a group? I'm not saying for any stretch of the imagination that if they're in a big, huge lecture theatre with lots and lots of other students that they're not going to make friends, but you do have to think that it is a huge change for them. And, you know, will it be easy for them to get over that hurdle? Are they chatty? Are they outgoing? Can they do that really easily? Or would they struggle with that? So some students would. And I mean, all I'm saying here is thinking about setting your student up for success. These are just some of the considerations maybe for you. So I'm going to talk a little bit about then understanding points and minimum entry requirements, okay? So points are a huge thing for Leaving Cert students. And I'm talking particularly about Leaving Cert students here because I know a lot of you are parents and, you know, students you'll be here talking about Leaving Cert specifically. Just to explain that points are only a part of the equation, okay? We've published our points in a range, and let me explain to you how that works. Every year, students look at the points, the bottom points coming into a university, and students are working away hard in their Leaving Cert. If they do really, really good in their Leaving Cert, they feel like they should spend their points on a course that's really high. And sometimes that might not be the right course for them, okay? But because they've put in the work, they're nearly using their points like a currency, okay? And in fairness, you can kind of see why they might do that, because if they feel that they've worked really hard for something and now they want to match their points with the course that has something similar. But what I will say to you is the way students come into college looks like this. The 357 there is the last student that came in on the lowest points, okay? And up to now, we haven't really talked about the student that came in on the highest points. But you can see here that the student that came in on the highest points on this course came in at 577 points, okay? So that means that everyone else on this course came in somewhere between the bottom points of 357 and the highest points of 577. So there's a huge range in there of students coming in on different points. And if you look across all of the courses that we're showing that we're recruiting into this year for first year, you'll see that there's a very wide points bands, very wide points bands in terms of students coming into the university. Some students coming in on higher points, some students coming in on lower points. And it's exactly like school. It's exactly like how school works, where you have that bell curve of students, where some students are really high at the top and some students are at the bottom, but the majority of them are sitting in the middle, okay? So it's just to identify to you that points are only part of the equation, and that really our advice as a university would be students pick what they feel they want to do as a career. Now, realistically, you won't care about what you spent your points on in 20 years in whatever job or career path you have chosen, you know. And sometimes when students spend their points feeling like they should, they end up in the wrong course, and it's 6 months down the road and they're thinking to themselves, this is not for me, and they're going back to the start again the next year. So I just encourage students, or you know, to really think about what they want to do and think more about the career and the end goal as opposed to what the points are. Points go up and down every year. The more places there are in a particular subject, the lower the points are going to be. For example, one of our programs, Human Nutrition and Dietetics, we've 25 places on it. We can't make any more based on hospital placements. the points are up there 550, 560, 570 every year, and they never come down below that. Indeed, they went up to over 600 at one stage. But we've lots and lots of places in physics, the points are lower. We've lots and lots of places in social care, early childhood care and education, over 200 places. So the points will naturally be lower. That doesn't mean that the course is of any less value. It just means that there's more places provided. Okay, so that's what points are. They go up and down every year based on the amount of people that have applied to things. And I just want students to be aware of that and parents to be aware of that as to how that works, because sometimes people are not 100% familiar with that. With the points there is the other part of it, the minimum entry requirements. Okay, so coming to university, students will always ask, how hard is something? And they're looking at the points and they're saying, that's 500 points, is that hard? I would say, look at the minimum entry requirements. Okay, this particular program here, 6 subjects, 2 H5s, which two higher level H5s, your maths grade there, and your English or Irish. Okay, so that's the standard entry coming in. When you look at any page of our website, it will tell you how many subjects. If you need any higher level subjects, what the math standard is coming in and what the English or Irish standard is coming in. Guys, it's English or Irish. It's not English and Irish. Okay, you don't need an exemption for Irish to come into the university. If you're doing English, you don't need to provide us with any other documentation. The majority of our programs, it's the maths, English or Irish. Some of our programs do have another entry requirement, which is titled other grade requirements. Okay, so for this particular program, you can see we're looking for a grade in a science subject. And that's predominantly to do with, this is a science program. We also would have a language requirement for students that might want to come into a language program. But for the majority of our program, it's maths, English or Irish. Okay, now sometimes where the students go awry is they have to get, say, a H4 in maths. They get all the points, they pass the English and they do really well, but they miss the grade in maths and they don't get their offer. Okay, and what happens then is you have a very upset student who, if they haven't planned out their CAO form strategically, either doesn't have an offer or is accepting an offer somewhere that they do not want to go. So I'm going to show you a little bit about that as we go through the event. So I want to highlight this piece now, and I've noticed a couple of questions coming up about QQI, and I will go back to them in just a minute, but I want to identify how things are classified in university and how you can progress through TU Dublin. So at the moment, the students are all doing their Leaving Cert, and that is level 5. Okay, a level or a higher certificate is a level 6, and it's 2 years. And at the end of that, a student can go and into employment. An ordinary bachelor's degree is 3 years. That is a level 7 qualification, and the student can go into employment. And then the honours bachelor's degree is a level 8. And it's 4 years. Okay, now I have added the master's in there, which is level 9, and level 10 is PhD, but we're not anywhere near that. But just so that you understand, the majority of QQIs are offering at level 5 and sometimes level 6. But in university, it's level 6, level 7, and level 8. Now, TU Dublin, the only Dublin university offering level 6, 7, and 8. The nature of a technological university is that they do. The majority of other universities predominantly offering at level 8. You may get the odd level 7 here or there, but not a standard, whereas TU Dublin offering at level 6, level 7, and level 8. And what that does is it builds flexibility for students to come in at level 6, progress to level 7, and move on to level 8. I would say to you, every student is different. Students mature at different ages, etc. And this progression opportunity is huge for students if they want to, if they're undecided about whether they want to do a 4-year degree, they can come in on their higher certificate and then build onto that. We recognize that everybody's different. A 4-year bachelor degree is not for everybody straight off the bat. And many students come into us and will leave after their 2 years and go into employment, and that suits them absolutely fine. Some of them will come back to us 20 years later and do those extra 2 years to get their honours degree. And again, that's the beauty of this. It's like little building blocks. Once they're recognised, they've done their award, they can go off. These are very good standalone qualifications. They can go off and work, but they have the opportunity to come back to us at any stage. So just showing you an example of progression here, just so that you understand. This is our business programme in Angel Street. If you come in on TU 678, it would have been 251 points last year, a minimum of 5 subjects. So your maths would have had to be at the 06 H7 and the English or Irish at 06 H7. So those students have the opportunity to come in, do their 2 years. If they get 55% or higher, they're progressing straight into 3rd year of the level 8. Now you can see what they would have needed for the level 8, 3 H5s, an 06 H7, an 04 or H6 for their English or Irish, and at least 130 odd extra points to come into this programme. But as it happens, if this student comes in, achieves their sufficient grades, they end up coming out at the other end of 4 years with the exact same qualification as everybody that came in to the level 8 in 1st year. And that's what I want to get across to you guys today. There's lots of opportunities for students to come in and take different pathways, but still come out ultimately with what they want. And when you're planning your CAO form, I'd really be thinking about that, because there's loads of opportunities for students nowadays. And sometimes this pathway, coming in at 6, getting more attention and leaving at 8, is better for students. They do better. You know, they get that extra attention and it really works for them in the end. So moving on to what best way to fill out your CAO. So students are thinking about their CAO form, and I think one of the things that myself and our colleagues will see is that some students do not maximise their form whatsoever. They're putting in the top, they put in 3 courses at level 8 and they leave the rest of it blank, whereas they're not making their form work for them, okay? The top 3 courses on their CAO form should be 1, 2, and 3, their dream courses, what they've always dreamed of doing, regardless of points, okay? They need to put in their top 3 courses in there. Moving into the middle of the form, then it will be 4, 5, 6, and 7 to 8 realistic courses, things that they think that, you know, they're most likely to get, going off how they've done up to now. And then your last 3 spaces you're putting in your bankers. They're the things that you feel you'll definitely get, okay? So, you know, probably points that are courses that are lower, etc., and in points, but, you know, that they definitely feel that they can achieve. The same at level 6, 7. The CAO form has 20 spaces on it, okay? I'm just going to show you a CAO form here now. Just let me see if I can find that. Central Applications Office, here we are. So this is what a CAO form looks like. Can we see that there, guys? One of the team just answer me there. Can you see that?
Yep, perfect.
Yeah. Thanks a million. Okay, so this is a demo application here. So you're entering your course choices here. You have your level 8 course choices here, and then you have your level 7 course choices. So the exact same thing, okay? You have 2 lines and you have 20 spaces on it. I did a little survey at one of our open days there just last weekend, and I asked some of the students, would they rather take their 10th choice at level 8 or their first choice at level 6, 7? And a good few of them said that they'd rather take their 10th choice at level 8. And, you know, to me, that's quite worrying, because realistically, the students would rather take something that they're not really mad about so that they have a level 8 degree than come in on their first choice at level 6 or 7 and move through that progression. It's really important that the student sits down, looks at their level 8 choices, fills out all 10, and then does the exact same with level 6, 7. So they have the opportunity, if perhaps they get really far down their level 8 into a course that they're perhaps not totally sold on, but they have that level 6-7 option, and they can say, okay, well, how can I build into my degree with this program? Because it's a very valuable opportunity to have to come in and build your degree. Now, everything on the CAO is in a university. It's not in a QQI. I know there has been some recent confusion with students trying to apply to QQI programs on the CAO. Only programs on the CAO are full university programs, okay? You need to apply to the QQIs separately from this. So you're applying to university if you're applying here. But you can click on your courses option here. I'm not sure if is that sharing with the options coming up on the screen there, guys? Can you see that? Search by institution. Is it coming up?
No.
No. Okay, let me reshare. Sometimes when you're moving around screens, it does always appear when you show pop-ups. Let me see if I can stop sharing and reshare. Okay, so I'm going to share that. So you see your institutions here, and you have your list there. So you pick whichever university you want. I'm going to look at TU Dublin for this, and then click go. And you have your full list of level 6-7 programs as well. Obviously, you put them in your order of preference, but mirror your level 8 programs. You know, they should be in the realm of what you have up there on your level 8. And for some students, these are the options that they only want. But for some students, there's strategic backup options as well. So very good standalone qualifications as they are. Lots of job opportunities with these qualifications. But for some students, they are backup options as well, whereas they want the level 8 predominantly. Some students are very happy to come in and do the level 6. They can't see themselves doing level 8, and they want the opportunity to build on it a little bit later on. So just wanted to show you what that looks like. You have plenty of opportunity to look in there and to choose what you want. So just let me stop sharing that now. Stop sharing, and we'll go back to our presentation now. Okay, let me just see where we are in our presentation. Okay, so I'm going to start sharing that again. There we are. Okay, so might just stop and see if we have any questions in there really quickly before we progress any further. Is there anything prominent coming up there, guys, in the questions that I might answer? Maybe Nolene, you might.
Hi, Linda.
Hi there.
Lots of questions there on the QQI entry route.
Okay.
So I think we've answered most of them, but I suppose no harm in saying again that on each of our course pages for TU Dublin, we clearly say what the entry requirements are for Leaving Cert applicants, and then what the options are if you go through the QQI route. So some courses will require, it may take any level 5 or 6 award, QQI award, and some specify specific awards will only consider for entry. So I suppose, as you always say, it's important to go to each of the course pages and look at the entry requirements because they can be specific to each course.
I think I might just show an example of that, Nolene, just so that people can see and can understand where we're coming from. So let me just show you one here. Share this tab. Can you see this here, civil engineering? It's just a random one that I've just picked there. Okay, so this is a TU Dublin course page. And you can see here under minimum entry requirements, we have QQI/FET requirements. So on this particular program, you can see that we are looking for specific QQI programs, okay? And each QQI program has a code. So if you wanted to enter this program in civil engineering, you will need to study one of these programs specifically. And that's where some students will fall down. where they're looking to come into, say, for example, civil engineering, but they haven't studied the correct option to enter it. So if you know, for example, that your student wants to go to a QQI program and then progress to TU Dublin the next year, you need to go in and have a look at the specific type of programs or the specific courses that they're looking at to see, are we looking for a specific requirement? Okay, and it's outlined in detail there on each of our course pages. Now, a large majority of our programs require any award, but some of our programs will require specifics. So I would say to you, on our website, when you go to individual course pages, you can click on the minimum entry requirements tab there and have a read of the QQI. And you can go on to the QQI website, that's qqi.ie. You can key in this code and you can find where these individual programs are taught. So there could be one in Dún Laoghaire, there could be one in, Finglas. They'll be all over the place. And the individual program could be repeated across the country in loads of different venues. So you have a couple there that you can choose from. And, really what you're going to do is you're going to try to identify, well, where's close to me and where is easy to get to, etc. So I'm just going to stop sharing this now and go back to our presentation. Okay. So just let me go back to our presentation now. Sure. Oh. Okay.
Linda, there's a question there on what is the difference between a QQI and a 2-year higher certificate. So if you like, I can explain that.
Sure, go ahead, Noreen, actually, while I get this sorted, that'd be great.
Yeah, a QQI level 5 award is entry level only, and that's equivalent, it's on the same level as the Leaving Cert on the National Framework of Qualifications. The QQI level 6 would be, it's a level 6 and it is the same level as a 2-year higher certificate. They're both level 6 on the National Framework. If someone takes a level 6, a lot of students will take a QQI level 6 and come into year 1, and then some will apply for advanced entry. But you can apply through the CAO for year 1 and advanced entry, and we would advise applicants to hedge their bets. Even if you're applying for advanced entry, apply for year 1 also, just in case you don't get advanced entry, because we will look at the level 6 award and we'll see if it maps closely to the first year of our degree. So a QQI level 6 award might get you advanced entry into year 2, but it depends on how closely it's aligned to the first year of our degree. So a lot of students will start with the level 5 and then they might progress on to the level 6, and then you will either come into year 1 of our degree or you may get entry to year 2. Again, it will really depend on how closely aligned the QQI award is to the TU Dublin programme. Hope that explains.
Thanks, Noreen.
Okay.
Okay, so just a quick recap there. We have 2 sets of course choice lists on your CAO form. Level 8 where you can put in 10 and a level 6-7 where you can put in 10. You can make 10 choices on each list, put them in order of preference. And I always say to the students, think about sitting in each of those seats as you go through your CAO form. Think about, how am I going to get there every morning on a cold day in November when it's lashing rain out? Am I going to be motivated to take 2 hours of a bus to get to that course? You have to be realistic about your expectations. One of the things you really need to consider is, how am I going to get there? Because I can tell you that the marker for success in university is attendance. Okay, if the student is attending and they're in class, they will pass. And if it's a case that it's too far for them, it's taking them hours and hours to travel and get over and back, it's going to be likely that, they're going to struggle. So they need to think about that very rationally and fill in their level 6-7s as well. You get 2 offers, or you potentially can get 2 offers, one at level 8 and one at level 6-7, and you pick the one that suits you best, thinking about the career that you want in the future, thinking about, ultimately what your goal is, as opposed to what it looks like right now to other people. And I know that's very difficult for young people, if they're set, they might want to say, oh, I'm in a level 8 here, there, or whatever. But ultimately, it's, what your goal in the end, how you're going to get there, that you need to choose. Okay, So just also to make sure that the students double check all communications from the CAO and make sure that they have their exam number, their Leaving Cert exam number in there, etc. Make sure that they double check everything from the CAO in order to get their offer. Okay, so after the Leaving Certificate then, we noticed that there's a huge volume of change to CAO forms in the last week before the change of mind closes. And a large part of that is a reaction to the Leaving Cert and how students feel they may or may not have done in their Leaving Cert, okay? It can be always very hard to tell how you've done in a test. You know, a lot of students may feel that they've done bad or they haven't done as bad as they thought, and they're changing their CAO form around to mirror what they've done or what they feel they've done in their Leaving Cert. As I've said to you there at the very start, if your student fills out their CAO form the way we have outlined there with their, you know, the courses that they really want at the top, realistic expectations in the middle, the bankers at the end, and the same, the level 6, 7 there won't be need to be changing things around higgledy-piggledy at the last minute and perhaps making decisions that, you know, the wrong decision based on a feeling or based on, you know, what they think or whatever. So I would say to you, you know, after the Leaving Cert, try and if you're gonna do this, if you're gonna look at this the CAO form when it opens again now on the 1st of May, there's plenty of time for the student to have a little think about that even. And I know it's hard with them studying for the Leaving Cert or whatever, but you know, try to be quite objective about it and follow that structure. It's tried and tested and it works really well. So the offers then, the offer and acceptance date. So students are getting their Leaving Cert this year on the 23rd of August. So we are feeling that first round offers will be made in and around the 28th of August this year. So that will be that will be round 1. And then we'll have round 2 shortly after that. So just to explain to you about the offers, when the offers go out, if, for example, your student gets their 4th choice offer at level 8 and their 1st place offer at level 7, they may think, actually, I'm happy enough with that 4th place offer. I'm going to take that and see what I get in the next round, because sometimes in the next round they may be able to move up to 3 or 2 or even 1, depending on whether other applicants accept the place or not. If you get offered your 1st choice place on both, you'll never get another offer after that. You know, you have your 1st choices. So you can't move backwards down your form. If you get your 4th place choice, you're never going to be offered your 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. You can only ever move forward. So just to be clear on that, I know a lot of the calls that we get from students are saying, oh, I got my 4th, but is there any chance I can swap that for my 5th? They cannot, okay? They can only ever move forward, okay? So, and that will be based on the rounds and what happens with students not accepting, etc. So available places then, and just to highlight this because I think and I feel that a lot of people are not familiar with this, come the round 1, what will happen is all of the universities will have places left on some of their programs. And what we do is we publish them at that stage where students can apply for them. So if your student, for example, has filled out their CAO form, hadn't been 100% decided on the area and the discipline that they wanted to go into, and then is getting an offer maybe in business, and they were like, oh, I don't really know about business. Actually, I prefer, if I had it done like early childhood, I should have put that on my form. There'll be different opportunities across all of the universities to apply for places that are left, and they will follow the exact same process with their CAO form. They'll be opening a CAO form and they'll be, you know, filling it out and hopefully getting an offer in available places. So we'll be offering them after the rounds or during the rounds as well, so that the students, you know, if they're unhappy with what they have, with the offers that they have, or if they have not got an offer, that they have a further opportunity at that stage to apply for different programs that are available. And there's always lots of choice in the available places as well. It may not necessarily be the location or the university that the student wanted, but there will be lots of choice there. So just in terms of some of the access schemes for university that you should perhaps be considering now and be looking into now while there's that time. The HEAR scheme is for students from disadvantaged backgrounds. The HEAR scheme is open, and as I said, I'm going to distribute this presentation, and there's a video at the end of it about the HEAR scheme, how it works, etc. So you can have a little bit of a look at that if you feel that applies to you. The DARE scheme then is for students with disabilities. If you're a student, or if your student has a disability, again, the DARE scheme is something that you'll be very interested in. And again, I've attached a video for you to have a look at and to understand how that scheme works. SUSI grants. SUSI is the grant authority here in Ireland, so they make grant awards for students coming into university. It's actually nothing to do with ourselves. They make all the assessments and offer the grants. SUSI is now open for applications, and I will say to you that SUSI are running a webinar on the 13th of May, talking about how to apply for a grant, how it all works, eligibility requirements, etc. Again, I've linked that for you so that you can go and have a look at that. About 55% of the students in the university will be on a grant. The thresholds have been increased very recently and are quite high. You might not get 100% grant, you might get 50% grant, you might get 25% grant, but I would say to you, definitely go and investigate that, because you know, the thresholds have got bigger. The Access TU Dublin scheme then is similar to the HEAR scheme, and perhaps it's a little bit easier to get. So sometimes if a student doesn't meet the full requirements for the HEAR scheme for whatever reason, they can apply to the Access TU Dublin scheme. Again, it's very, very similar. As I said, it's just that we are a little bit, you know, the rules around it are not as stringent. So you're more likely to qualify if you haven't qualified under the HEAR scheme. And then if you have a student who is an elite athlete, they can apply for our elite sports scholarship. So that's due to close very shortly, I'd say in the next couple of days. So if your student is playing at a high level, whether it be county, League of Ireland, you know, or representing, you know, a sport at a very high level, apply for the elite scholarship. I definitely say if you're unsure about the level, apply anyway, and we'll assess the student, and you know, you can understand either way then whether the student gets it. Some of the students on development squads, etc., have got the scholarship as well, and it's fantastic. Full fees, you know, nutritional support, gym support, stipends, all sorts of stuff. So so it's a really good scholarship, and you know, we've Olympic athletes and everything here at the university, so it's a really, really good scholarship. And also the students come in on a lower level of points, about a 10% lower level of points, as part of that scholarship, because obviously we understand the huge commitment to their sport, and they get an academic mentor as well, actually, to assist them. So these are just some of the tools that I mentioned to you, and we'll circulate this. We have our own dedicated CAO hub here in TU Dublin. It's an explainer of everything that you need to know if you are navigating the CAO for the first time. So lots of helpful advice, and I'd spend a good bit of time on that. A lot of the universities will have similar. The points calculator. I know myself, like when I done the Leaving Cert, it was like an A, B or C or whatever. You got an A1 or whatever. It's totally changed now. And, you know, if you're a little bit confused about how that works, this is a link to the careers portal points calculator. So you can just go in and have a look at it and see what that all means. And again, it'll help you understand the minimum entry requirements that we looked at a little bit earlier. Just in terms of visits, I know a lot of the spring open days are over now for the university. You might have come to our one or some of the other ones. A lot of them are starting to come to an end. But what I will say is, if your student is interested in a particular location, go and have a visit, walk around the campus. You can enter some of the buildings, you know, they are public facing, and have a little walk around. See what bus you're going to get there, see what the, you know, the reality of actually getting there is, because a lot of students, we notice, the first time that they've ever been in TU Dublin or on the campus is the day that they turn up to start. and they're thinking, oh God, that took way longer, or, you know, this is fine or whatever. It's about preparing yourself and understanding and looking at all the different options in terms of transport. Is there private bus transport? You know, there's lots of private providers as well that people don't necessarily know about. We've lots of information about getting to our campuses on our website as well. But there's loads of different options, and I'd definitely be saying to you to go and have a visit and a little walk around. Like this event, we will have more webinars. We'll have another one in May, and we'll have another one just right before the Change of Mind closes and after the Leaving Cert. But again, you've seen when I went onto our webpage there, a little chat icon came up. Please feel free to message us at any stage and ask us, or you can email admissions@tudublin.ie if you have any queries about anything. We're here to assist, and we want to assist the students. Also, there's a CAO guide for parents. I have a link in there for CAO guide for parents. That's on the CAO website. Again, they do have a whole parents website, lots of different videos on there as well. It's a really good tool. It kind of gives you an idea about, you know, where you can help your students. A lot of what we've been talking about today. Okay, so I'm finished with the presentation now. Is there any other questions that we feel that we need to address or that we should ask at this stage? Thank you, Joe. Any other queries? Okay, all qualified applicants. Yeah.
I think we've answered all the questions, Linda, in the chat.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much. Well, at this stage then, if we've answered all the questions, or if anybody has any more questions that they'd like to ask, please put them in. But I would say to you, the best of luck to your students as they embark on their Leaving Cert. I know that it can be particularly trying for them. A lot of these students wouldn't have even done a junior cert, so perhaps it's the first time they're sitting that big exam, and it's nerve-wracking. But you know, it'll be the making of them in the end. They don't see it now, but it will be. And we wish them the very best of luck. Hope to see a lot of them in September. And thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. And again, if you have anything further, please contact us at any stage. Thank you. Bye-bye.